Hello and welcome to the Dream Homes Investment Podcast. I'm Joanna Mochadlo, co-founder of Dream Homes Investment. And today I'm delighted to be joined by my co-host and co-founder of Dream Homes Investment, Ravinder Singh Johal. Hello and welcome, Ravi.
Hi, Joanna. Thank you very much for hosting another exciting podcast with Dream Homes Investment. Looking forward to a great episode.
Thank you. And we have a special guest today, Luca Berishvili of Silk Developers Georgia. Hi, Luca. Welcome and thank you for joining this conversation.
Hi, Joanna. Hi, Ravi. I'm really happy to have a chance to have a discussion with you about the opportunities regarding the investment opportunities in Georgia, particularly in Batumi. I suggest it is really, really interesting. And hopefully, yes, we will discuss these questions that will give more clarity to what to expect as a foreigner while being interested in investing in Georgia.
Excellent. Yes, today's discussion focuses on silk development, Georgia's investment landscape in 2026, and what this means for both institutional and individual investors. So before we dive in, Luca, could you tell us a little bit about silk development and where does the silk name come from?
Mhm. Well, that's a good point that you have mentioned about the silk because in general, silk is not just a random word in this naming of the company because Georgia as a country has been on the division between Asia and Europe for the lifetime. And there used to be a Silk Road, an actual Silk Road that was connecting Asia and Europe for the trading and so on. So that's why this region is called Silk Road region. And the name is actually connected to this historical monumental thing because as a company and as a holding, we are creating landmark not only projects but also activities that really connects local, let's say, businesses to the emerging worldwide market.
That's a great name, and we've got a bit of a history lesson here as well, which is amazing. Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about the Silk standards and strategic locations.
hmm
Silk development is known for its landmark projects like the Radisson Blu Iberia and the new Silk Towers in Batumi. How do you select locations that ensure long-term value for investors, and what makes these silk properties stand out in the competitive Georgian market?
hmm That's a very good question because what is one of the most important thing for investment? The location. Because nowadays, when there is a huge amount of competition on any market, it's not about just Georgia, right? It's a worldwide thing. You have to find a location that is really standing out in order to be able to, let's say, have a good occupancy rate, have a good amount of people traffic in general, and also being able to um, do any kind of activity in a well manner. So that's why the location is the first thing to look once you are investing in a property market, right? And for us, it's one of the important things as well, because whatever we do, we have the landmark locations. For example, as for now, the Radissons that we own, actually, we brought this brand in Georgia in 2009, and we have been doing the property management for them for last 17 years. So we know exactly how to develop and do the property market and the property management for premium projects like this. And the location in Batumi is on the really landmark project. Even if you type a word Batumi, which is the name of the city, in the Google Maps and go to the images, you will see like first three photos are from our land. That is really that iconic. And we have the same plans on Tbilisi as well later on. So it's not that our company is stopping on one spot just to develop one project. We have huge plans on developing the real estate. So yeah, the major project is Silk Towers right now, which is next to Batumi Radisson, and we already have an experience of property management there, and we know how to do it.
That's great. Yeah, you're right. You need to just tick so many boxes in terms of location and making it interesting and
Yeah.
for investors. Okay, well, thank you for this answer.
Thank you very much, Luca. Let's
Sure.
talk about Georgia's unique investment incentives. Georgia was recently ranked seventh in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index. Beyond
Mhm.
the high ranking, what specific legal and tax benefits should international investors know about when choosing Georgia over other emerging markets in 2026?
Yeah, so first of all, why Georgia is getting really interesting for international investors. It's not just about a particular individual investor, for example, who is buying a single unit in a project, but also for people who are planning to open, let's say, a company here or move businesses here. As for now, the government is really incentivizing the interest towards moving to Georgia for foreigners. That's why the bureaucracy is really low right now, and anything can be done within the 15 minutes. Absolutely anything. Actually, you can register your company,
Wow.
open bank account, let's say get the D title on the apartment, get the ownership. No matter what, we have a really good system which is already working for like past 7, 8 years really well, and that's why it does not matter you are foreigner, you are local or so, you are getting same quick services here. And also, apart from low bureaucracy, the taxation system, which is really appealing because we are talking about the numbers and we're talking about investment. So this is the second important thing, right? If not the first. So that's why Georgia is really helping with the hand about having low tax amount. For example, on the VAT that would be, or the property ownership tax, or the rental services tax, and so on. And yeah, that's why Georgia is getting interested. For example, if you get a property tax, you can get it on a, like in the worst case, at 1% for the ownership. Also,
See.
yeah, there is no, let's say, um, property appreciation tax,
1%.
get resale tax. So
No, so Georgia's clearly competing with other countries and other locations as well, and so this is amazing to hear. So let's talk about diversification and asset resilience. Your portfolio spans residential, hospitality, as well as mixed-use developments,
yes,
such as the Telegraph Hotel and Grand Cape Botanico.
yes.
From an investor's perspective, how does Silk Hospitality help mitigate risks and maintain stable rental yields during the global economic shifts?
Yes, that's also a very important thing while investing because it's not just about buying the property, it's about maintaining it and then, let's say, keeping it good, right? Because if you do not rent it out well, or if the management is not good, or the project is not developed very well, then there is no price appreciation or returns on investment. So it's not just building and just handing it over to the buyer. It's also about the managing. And our company has a very long-term prospects about this. We never just build and then forget. And a good example is that we have been doing this business for 17 years, and it's not just for the money. We have a huge legacy of like 25 years in Georgia, and one of the most important things for us is the reputation and the quality services that we provide. And that's a good example for the Telegraph Hotel that you have mentioned. Actually, we have pretty nice hotels in Georgia, and one of them is Telegraph. But the Telegraph Hotel is the only member of the leading hotels of the world from our country, even though it was open just like not even 1 year ago. We have opened it in September. And that's a good example of how we handle the services in the hospitality sector. And the Green Cape Botanical that you have mentioned, it's also one of our projects, and we have handed it over in 2024. It's a mixed use, let's say, holiday home, not exactly the investment apartment complex or just a residential home. So it's kind of in the middle. But from that day, from 2024, we are always winning the Booking.com prices for the best mid-rise hotels. And the property management is Silk Hospitality there as well, just as the same company for the Telegraph Hotel, Radisson's, and also the same company will be managing Silk Towers later on.
So so you can expect a very high standard. That's incredible. And I have to say, I'm actually looking forward to visiting your hotel very shortly. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, so it sounds like buyers can expect luxury hotel style hospitality, style accommodation, which is certainly quite exciting to hear about. If we could move on now to the future of Batumi and coastal real estate. I understand with the Silk Towers launch at MIPIM in 2026, you've clearly set a vision for the new Batumi. What is driving the shift towards premium, wellness orientated developments in coastal Georgia? And why is now the right time for investors to enter this specific market?
Yeah. So regarding the let's say opportunities that the investors are getting, so because of the high competition, it's not just about one particular thing. For example, just deceive you, it won't be the decision
Yes,
maker for the investor, right? Just one thing, because there
yes.
are many things to be ticked on just to get your investment, right? So that's why we are not just putting all our, let's say, marketing or all our tools about the view, even though it's one of the best. But what's also really important is the facilities and the amenities that you are providing, for example, in terms of the wellness activities or in general, for example, the common spaces and so on. And that's why we are implementing so many different activities here. In general, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 56 different locations and the common zones that we will be introducing in this project, particularly Silk Towers, including the yacht club, which is the only yacht club actually in Batumi right now. We have leased it from the government for next 50 years. And we are actually the only company that can provide this as for now. And is one of the examples how we are trying to attract the investors, not just by the location, but also the lifestyle they will be getting. And also the territory is really huge, like 60,000 square meters, and we are not building on the whole land. We are using just like 48% of it, and the rest will goes to the common zones, parks, children entertainment centers, open paddle courts, and so on. And yeah, that's how we handle it. And also the wellness activities in every building that we will be incorporating in this project, there will be separate spa zones, let's say pool zones, and so on. So technically, no one wouldn't even need to leave the place. So the each building is fully autonomous. That's how we are trying to allocate everything in the one place. So no one needs to go to the other side of the city to get some particular activity, for example.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that when we met at the Property Investors Show, and that was certainly something that piqued my interest. Thank you very much.
Sure. And just one more thing is that we are also implementing one major thing, which is deal breaker at some point for Batumi. It's a casino. We will be introducing two separate casinos, which one of them will be the largest for the city, and also the second one will be introduced here, and also venues for the different exhibitions, like maybe UFC fight nights and so on. And yeah, we have big plans on this project, which will
Yeah.
change the market.
Well, that's really good to hear. I mean, so it's clear that you concentrate on the luxury and provide wellness and sort of like all-in support for your investors. And certainly with the casino, we know that whenever there's casino, the investment of the property goes up significantly. I would like to ask you about institutional confidence and growth. So with the Silk Road Group recently completed a massive 400 million bond offering. What does this level of international capital market interest say about the future stability of the Georgian economy and the scalability of the real estate investment within the country?
Yes, that's a very good thing that you have mentioned because this is where I would say, the only company in private sector from Georgia who can brag about it. Because we have achieved such a high level compared to our country, which is not the largest in the world, as you know, that besides the banks, which are the major banks in Georgia, they are TBC and Bank of Georgia, but they are not exactly the private sector. They are kind of connected to the national bank. So that's why it's not exactly private sector. But in private sector, we are the only company that has ever achieved this height. We have closed the bond issuance of $400 million on the UK stock market. And this is a very important thing for investor who does not know who is a developer, right? Because it's not just about the trust from a particular investor who is buying, let's say, two apartments. Imagine we have a trust and the global presence for the worldwide financial institutions such as the JP Morgan, UBS, and so on. They have trusted us this much of amount of the money, which is a significant amount, $400 million. And if you are not 100% transparent with every dollar that you are doing, no one would even keep you close to this amount of money. So this is a
Yeah.
very good thing, is that our company, our holding, is doing annual reports for the financial reports or the business activities, and we share it on our webpage, which is the srgh.g. It's our holding webpage, and anybody who is willing to have a better understanding about our company can check it out. And we are fully transparent, we are fully open for cooperations, and that's how we gained the respect and the trust from those worldwide institutions.
That's really important because it shows that you're a well-established developer. So for anyone that's considering investing in Georgia for the first time, that's a really good point, because if people don't know where to go, where to start, then they look at the most established developers first, right? For trust and respect.
That's right, Joanna. It certainly gives a lot more reassurance for our investors when looking at Georgia for the first time. Thank you very much, Luca. Now we're going to move
Sure.
on to more residential specific questions, talking first about yields and short-term management. With your residential projects like Green Cape Botanico, you offer full management through Silk Hospitality. For an individual buyer, what is the realistic rental yield that investors can expect in 2026? And how does your in-house management team help maintain occupancy, certainly during the off-season?
Mhm. So let's begin with the Green Cape Botanico, since it's already completed, so we can speak as a matter of a fact. So
Okay.
our company, Silk Hospitality, which is the same, like sister company of ours and a part of the same group, does the full property management. So there is nothing that we don't do. And also a good thing about us is that we own different kind of facilities, not just, for example, hotel. We also own restaurants, we also own casinos, venues, cafes, entertainment centers, and so on. So we know every kind of activity, and we know how to handle this kind of activity. So that's why we have a full scale of, let's say, services. Regarding the off-seasonal periods, we are offering, for example, different activities on the site, or, for example, the facilities that will be open all year around. But in terms of the Green Cape Botanico, it's not the largest project actually, so it's not exactly investment. So we are not really pushing that direction there. It's a holiday home, and we have different prospects on the Silk Towers because we have so many things to be offered, including these casinos. Also, for example, in just one building that we are selling initially right now on the first phase of the sales, we have
Mhm.
three separate pools: one indoor, one outdoor, children pools. Also, even a paddle court will be introduced in the uh, indoor zone, also the spa services and so on. And how we do this, we have an experience of rental management of, for example, Radissons, and we will be using the same systems in Silk Towers, which is called Leapfrog. And what does this mean is that there is like a 0% risk that the human mistake might be happening there. For example, someone decides to rent a property for their friend or something like this because they have a friend on the reception, because sometimes that happens. That's why we have this kind of system here to never face something like this, because the system will be giving the opportunity to each apartment on its own, depending on the occupancy rate. So there are no apartments that won't be rented out. It's physically impossible, because no matter what floor it is, no matter what view it is, it will have a unique queue. And also the occupancy rate per month will give them priority. So that's
Okay.
how we do it.
That's great. And just one more, because you mentioned off season, and would you mind just telling us like when's season, like how long does it last in Georgia?
Yeah, nowadays we don't have much of a difference in seasonality. I mean, there is, of course, higher season and lower season because this is a seaside city, and it's not like a unique thing for Batumi. Any other city in the world which is close to the sea have higher seasons and lower seasons. Usually, like let's say peak seasons, they start from the, let's say, end of April, and it goes to approximately half of October, and the other months would be a bit lower season. So that's the period when we are trying to get even more attraction towards the country. Then we will be hosting different exhibitions. I mentioned we will having also venues here, casinos, restaurants, yacht club, and many more things. So this is how we are going to be handling this lower season situation. And yeah, we already have an experience because, for example, yeah, Radisson is not exactly the identical thing that we are selling because it's still a hotel, but on the same location. And even though we are, let's say, renting our properties of Radisson, which is 2 times higher on the average compared to the five-star hotels here, but we are still able to have 2 times higher prices there for the rental because we have good services, good location, and also we know how to attract people in non-seasonal period. And it's like having almost 85% occupancy rate all year around.
That's really good. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
thank you for we talked about the services, location, and taxes, etc., etc. And now I want to ask you about the 2026 residency threshold.
Hmm.
The investment threshold for a Georgian short-term residence permit has recently increased to $150,000.
Yes.
How are your residential offerings, particularly the new Silk Towers, positioned to meet this new requirement for investors seeking both a home and residency?
Yeah, that's also a good question because most of the time people are investing for the residency permit in Georgia.
Mhm.
And yes, it's 100%, $150,000 mark right now, which was raised from $100,000 recently. And also, a really important thing that any investor has to know before investing for residency permit is that government is considering investment in real estate only in case of buying a property which has a legal status of apartment hotel. For example, what we are selling. Because, for example, if someone buys, let's say, a residential flat in a regular building worth of $500,000, it won't be considered as investment. So usually this is not being talked really often.
As a foreign investor, would that still be considered your home?
Yeah, but even if you buy a villa, for example, worth $1 million, it's not an investment from the point of the government because you're not really
Mhm.
investing. You are buying something for yourself. But if you are buying a hotel room, which is $150,000 worth, then yes, it is considered as investment. So this has to be known initially before buying something. Just someone don't get, let's say, fooled. Because
Mhm.
it's not a small amount of money. Of course, it's not $1 million, but $150,000, it's still a good amount of money. So, yeah.
But that's very interesting. So is that in terms of the tax perspective treated differently, right? If
Actually, not, because there are also questions about this that some people think that, for example, if you're buying a, let's say, holiday home, which is also considered as the investment property, for example, Green Cape Botanica has a legal status of holiday home. It's also considered as the investment. But also the apart hotels, which is the short version of the apartment hotel. For example, Silk Towers, there is no different taxation system. Absolutely, it's identical to any kind of property ownership. You own a villa, you own a house, or you own a apartment hotel, no matter what, you are getting the same taxation system. So you are not, let's say, losing something extra out of your pocket. And yeah, in general, it's also a really simple process. Like it's not about just us or the developer who is giving it out. Once you invest in a property, then you go to the government, and the government is giving the residency permit. So it's a very well-known practice here, and many people are getting this. But these are very important points that I have raised that has to be known initially before investing.
No, that's really good. So with 150,000, you can get your short-term residency.
Yeah, which can be renewed every year. Although there is another option, which is $300,000 investment, and you can get permanent residency right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's similar to some other countries' offerings as well, with the real estate investment of 300,000.
Hmm.
It's that's really good, very competitive, and so it shows that
Yeah.
somebody wants to invest for residency, then Georgia is a great
Hmm.
option.
Yes, absolutely. And also, in general, why I will just quickly put some more in interesting facts why Georgia would be interesting for somebody to live. and move the, let's say, living zone here, is that even though we have a small country, which is smaller compared to, for example, UK or the other major European countries or any other worldwide countries, we have 11 different climate zones and 11 different landscapes. We have even a desert here. We have the tropical forests here, also like 7, 8 major ski resorts, sea, and I don't know, many, many things that could be attracting any kind of people because you like skiing or you like sea, no matter what, we have everything here within like a 1 hour road from
That's
any part
incredible.
of the city.
So versatile. You can just do different things throughout the year, pretty much.
So, moving on to the question of sustainability and green living, we've seen a massive shift towards eco-conscious living. Green Cape Botanico was specifically designed to preserve the Batumi Botanical Gardens surrounding landscape. How important is green architecture for the resale value of a residential unit in Georgia over the next decade?
Yes, so good thing that you have mentioned about the opportunities in Green Cave Botanico and how it was designed. Because even though we had an opportunity to make it even larger than 7 floors, because we had a architectural status which gave us opportunity to even make 15 floors and have much more income by selling those properties or the managing them. But due to a specific location of being very close to Botanical Garden, and having a terraces kind of landscape there because the mountain is getting right into the sea. We did not want to really tear up the whole landscape there. That's why we have um, put lower floors to the sales and built a much more, let's say, small complex there, boutique type of living room. So regarding the green zones, that's how we also maintain the overall situation there. We are not building very extraordinary thing. That's why, for example, a good example is Silk Towers. That's why we found architect Kengo Kuma, which is a Japanese architect. And how are they well known for this? Because they are not building just for themselves. They are finding out what's going on in the city. They are looking for how it is, what it is, and what they do for the facades and the common zones is that they are actually implementing the same system as the whole city is built with. So it's kind of a part of the whole city, not just a building stick to the ground. So this also helps in the resale value because it's part of the whole project, part of the whole city, and it's not standing out as a odd thing, let's say like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's really thoughtful, well designed. Moving on to remote buying and blockchain security. Georgia's doing increasingly well in blockchain-based land registration. For an international buyer who might not be able to visit Tbilisi or Batumi in person,
Yeah.
how does Silk Development facilitate a secure 100% remote purchase process?
So, first of all, I will begin with how easy it is to purchase the property because we don't have much of the bureaucracy in this field as well.
Okay.
It can be done within like 1 hour, signing the agreement and making the payment because we don't have several step of verification or some kind of papers that a buyer has to provide or so on. It's just the simple contract that you are signing with the developer, and also the payments can be done within the international bank payments. Besides this, we also accept the crypto payments within our partner, which has the KYC status, and it's also important in terms of the transparency for the crypto payments. And yeah, we are open to any kind of, let's say, financial opportunities there. And regarding the security for the buyer, in general, we have several contracts that are making the safe opportunity for the buyer because we indicate every detail in the contract, including the floors, the direction per floor on the apartment, and every kind of condition for the apartment. This is how we do it. And regarding the security measurements, is that we are the only company that has achieved the trust from the worldwide institutions worldwide what I mentioned, the JP Morgan, the UBS. So no one in the sense mind would even risk at some point to lose this reputation. That's why it is really important to invest in reliable developers who have global presence. So this is the biggest
Mm.
security measurement you can get anytime because, yeah, it's not just a random company who is building because they have money.
No, I just, from my perspective, that's a deal breaker because we know that so many buyers nowadays they want to pay with crypto, and not every developer provides that option or a secure option. And of course, just the quick process as well facilitates an easy, smooth transaction, which is it's incredible, very modern and very yeah, up there with all the leading jurisdictions.
Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, we're going to talk about exit strategy and
Yeah.
capital appreciation. So, Luca, we've seen residential prices in Tbilisi and Batumi. See, they've had steady annual growth of 5 to 8% heading into 2026. If an investor buys a silk apartment today, what does the secondary market look like when they decide to sell in 5 years? Is there a high demand for
Hmm.
pre-owned premium units?
That's a good question.
Yes. Yes, that's definitely a good question. And I will be speaking according to the numbers given from our partner in terms of the researches, which is Cushman and
Okay.
Wakefield, one of the world's largest real estate research companies. And so these numbers that I will be mentioning are not just coming out of blue or just from our experience. They are verified by the major international company that did their numbers as well. So what would be expected to face in, for example, a prospect of 4 or 5 years? Due to the location that we have. And as a matter of fact, this is the last available land that we are building in Silk for the Silk Towers. So there is no technical chance that a buyer will face with, let's say, future competitors. And this is
Mm.
also a very important thing. We would be expecting approximately 70% of price appreciation within next 4 years. So, for example, a unit that cost $100,000 would cost $170,000. And the fact that we don't have the resale tax, well, actually, there is a quick step to face with the no resale tax, which is the owning the property for 2 years. And after that, there is no resale tax. So whatever you can sell it for even $1 million, and no, you won't be getting any tax anytime soon. And yeah, that's how it happens. And regarding the pre-owned, for example, premium complexes, we have several of those already handed over in Batumi, and they are having a very good demand on that because there are some people who are willing to have a property in this project, but do not want to wait for it. So they are willing to pay it right away, and the resale is a very common thing. So we have two main reasons why people are investing in our project. First of all, is resale value. And also the second one is return on investment for the rental.
Luca, thank you so much for joining this conversation with us today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you and learning so much about Georgia's real estate market and about silk development. And thank you everyone for joining us on the Dream Homes Investment Podcast. If you're exploring Georgia property investment and would like to find out more, our team at Dream Homes Investment would be delighted to guide you.
Yeah, thank you very much to my co-hosts for joining this exciting podcast episode. And we certainly enjoy discussing why Georgia is becoming a global property hotspot in 2026 and worthy of making further inquiries on. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next episode.